Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining me once again on this Reverse Recruitment 0% Growths LTC. Who's ready for a trip to the beach? We are immediately alerted to the fact that this is a very dangerous beach. At the start of each player phase, any unit standing on a darker than average tile will take 10 damage from a spiked volleyball. People take their sports very seriously here, so this can result in being ejected from the beach. Here in 3-8, we have found a disturbing amount of people that have turned red because they forgot to apply sunscreen. They have become angry and violent, and as a result, we must boot every last one of them out of our vacation destination. In other words, we have a route map on our hands. Our most effective combat unit is of course Calill, so many aspects of our strategy will be dictated by how well we can make use of her. She will fry the majority of our foes and let the rest of the team pick up after her. In order to make sure her damage output stays ahead of the incrementally increasing enemy stats, we have given her a forged fire tome. Its name carries a bit of a double meaning. We have finally promoted Geoffrey into his Tier 3 Silver Knight class. Thanks to the stat increases that come with that, he is now almost as bulky as Calill. Our second promotion in this chapter goes to Marcia. As a Seraph Knight, she has 23 strength and 29 speed. Now, where have we seen that before? Both of these promotions were accomplished with a level of bonus experience, which, as a reminder, is perfectly legal under our rule set. Geoffrey will inaugurate his career with an exact kill on this Swordmaster, courtesy of his support with Lethe. As I mentioned in 3-7, we have to be very careful not to shift Marcia. Always. Forever. You get used to it. Now that we have a better view of the map, we can see that it's divided into a loose 3-lane structure. The central lane is where a majority of the enemies will concentrate, so that's where Calill and her supporting cast will advance. Geoffrey and Marcia storm the northeast lane, which has several swordmasters, sages, and generals. Marcia makes quick work of the frailer enemies, and Geoffrey is able to kill the swordmasters with the help of hazardous volleyballs. Additionally, Silver Knight Geoffrey has just enough speed to double these generals. On the western front, we've seen that Ina gives Har enough attack power to one-shot some generals with a hammer. Kieran can also do this, since he shares Har's 19 strength. However, fielding Har gives him a chance to build support points, which Kieran no longer needs now that his support rank with Makalov is at A. Our unit positioning on turn 1 means we take a lot of volleyballs to the face here. We can soldier through, but the enemy Geoffrey fought cannot. Here you may be asking yourself, Self? Why do Geoffrey and Marcia have only 7 movement? Surely this beach doesn't count as an indoor map, thereby subtracting 2 movement from all mounted barrack units. And, well, I took it up with one of the lifeguards, and they have this policy on, not endangering other beachgoers via excessive speed. And I told him, have you seen the volleyballs around here? And then he told me to get out of his chair. Back in the mid lane, we're preparing to have Calill fight a high number of enemies, including several that would have normally gone to other lanes. This should be no problem if Ike provides the B support that he and Calill unlocked in 3-7, but he can't move within 3 tiles of her on his own. He'll need a bit of a push. This Western Lance General is one of several stationary units on this map. Ina and Har can take their time in dealing with him. Mordecai is lagging behind thanks to his action on turn 1, and we do want him to catch up. We'll have Raphael refresh him so that he can smite Ike within support range of Calill, but this isn't the only way for Ike to get there. Danved can fulfill the same role. After the smite, Neolucci and Danved team up to make sure Raphael keeps pace with the units he needs to assist. Alrighty, let's talk about some skills while we clean up enemies like so many children's toys. Calill is equipped with Resolve, which should come as no surprise, and Provoke, which we have removed from Shinon. Meanwhile, Ike has equipped Daunt, which reduces the hit and crit rate of enemies within 3 tiles of him by 5 points, and Shade, which was dropped by the boss of 3-3. Provoke makes enemies more likely to attack you, while Shade does the opposite. But what does that mean exactly? Well, it's complicated. Mechanically, Provoke makes enemies think that you have weapon triangle disadvantage and cannot counterattack. Conversely, Shade makes them think the opposite. While we know these mechanics, we don't know how much weight these factors are given when enemies pick their targets. Based on my observations, I think enemies still prefer living if that option is available, and they seem to still know when a unit with Provoke can kill them with their counterattack. But, given 2 targets that both kill on retaliation, Provoke and Shade do seem to make a difference. We can see how that Halberdier chose to attack Ike in spite of both Provoke and Shade. If Ike had equipped a weapon that allowed him to 2-hit KO, I suspect that enemy would have redirected his attention toward our mage. Another one bites the dust. A running theme in this playthrough is that our best combat units are not always our most mobile ones. Examples of this include Calill and the Black Knight. This is challenging in some ways, but I enjoy how this gives other units value through their ability to patch up that weak movement. Neolucci and Mordecai have been quite helpful so far, despite their lack of combat on this map. Ina's heyday is long gone, but Har is still quite happy to have Bloodtide around. That is a very respectable hit rate for a hammer and 0% growth. Calill plans out her next move before confirming the current one. Marcia has the Nullify skill, but it turns out this longbow sniper was never a threat to her. Nefany takes out the enemy that Ike weakened. This wouldn't have been necessary if Ike had put the Halberdier within kill range of a volleyball, but it's no big deal in this case. Raphael needs to refresh her anyway. Danved has a free action here. This is notable because he and Mordecai could easily swap roles, and Mordecai would really appreciate having a turn to consume an Elite Grass. This would have let him transform a turn earlier compared to this clear. In other news, Nefany eliminates 1 stationary Fire Sage. There are 2 on this map. Geoffrey and Lethe aren't in the mood to fight right now. They'd prefer to find a quiet corner of the beach and bask in the sun's rays. After applying sunscreen, of course. Nephany crits this general, but it's not necessary. Geoffrey would have stepped in to seal the deal if she hadn't. Hey, guys, look, I know you're having a lot of fun out there on the courts, but do you think you could, keep your shots in bounds, maybe? This is getting ridiculous. After a rather relaxed turn 3, Calill is back to her usual routine. With Largo's Grill, she will cleanly 2-KO every enemy she fights here, except the boss Septimus and his 2 druids. Even then, her odds of defeating at least one of these enemies through flare or crits are about 4 out of 5. The druids have a measly luck stat of 3, and we could have capitalized on this even more if we had forged any crit on Largo's Grill. We want the Eastern Axe General to attack Calill, so we will leave everyone else out of his range. I missed an opportunity to have Marcia finish off the warrior and then canto back toward the bottom right. This is one of several ways I believe my action economy was used inefficiently on turn 4. We want to place Ike within support range of Calill while still keeping him out of enemy range, and it turns out he could do that after getting shoved once. Instead, I used Raphael to refresh him, just for 1 extra square of movement. Calill's biorhythm is quite good right now. That should help her activate Flare more often. Because the warrior still lives, Nephany has to deal with him. This means she isn't heading down south to bolster our options there. We'll talk about how that could have helped in just a little bit. We could have also transformed Mordecai by now if he had consumed an Leavegrass like I mentioned earlier. Har ends up luring in the Stormsword General. Danved could also have done this if he had shoved Ike this turn. If Nephany hadn't crit the other general last turn, Geoffrey would finish him off now. This enemy phase can play out in several different ways, but what's consistent is Calill's ability to kill 5 generals and the lone sniper. We've seen how most of our other combat units fail to kill the bulky armored boys in 1 round of combat, so we're as thankful as ever to have our first-rate Archsage in play. The variance begins when Septimus attacks. If he does not die, then the bishop that goes next would move directly below his commander and heal him. This would leave space for the melee range Lance General and the remaining Halberdier to attack and be defeated. As it stands, the Halberdier is blocked by the bishop, so he lives while Septimus dies. We also get to kill one of the druids. Not bad. Later entries in the Fire Emblem series spend much less time animating the sources of damage that come from map effects. I think we can all agree that's a smart move. And now we come to turn 5. The way we handle this Storm Sword General is another slight misplay. Har should have equipped a ranged weapon on turn 4 in order to deal some chip damage to him, which would make our job this turn easier. Danved could have done the same thing. This probably would have brought the general within kill range of the hammer with Blood Tide. Instead, we have to get Nephany involved. Our saving grace here is that this enemy happens to be at worst Biorhythm, which helps with the hit rates. Meanwhile, Calill has encountered the second stationary Fire Sage. Attacking him on player phase is another mistake. The more efficient option would have been to attack the Halberdier and let the Fire Sage sign his own death warrant on enemy phase. These small, cumulative inefficiencies start to add up. Mordecai is in range of the bishop here, but he would have been one tile short if the bishop had healed Septimus. Transforming him on turn 4 solves this problem. We know Calill can deal with the 2 remaining generals better than anyone else, so we need to make sure that the rest of our units hang back. However, since Mordecai cannot one round at this Halberdier, we need to chip him down or kill him outright. Once again, the power of hindsight reveals a better way of doing things. Ike could have used the Brave Sword to kill, and Marcia could have rescued him away. As it stands, we missed the kill. It's a good thing Calill activated Flare against 2 crucial enemies last turn. Otherwise, we might have needed the help of a certain Blue Lancer. Without her Ike support, Calill just barely reaches the attack power necessary to one-round the penultimate general, without Flare. It occurs to me that I could have moved her one space to the left to give her that B support boost. Regardless, Calill drives the last sunburned malcontent away from our hard-won beach, clearing 3-8 in 5 turns. Join me next time to find out why we don't need to use a Master Crown to achieve the ideal turn count. Take care, everyone.
Oh.